First contact and construction. Warden Jaraxian's third set of optical sensors twitched as he reviewed the construction plans for the 72nd time. The crystalline display before him showed the most ambitious prison ever conceived, a fortress designed specifically for the galaxy's most perplexing species, humans. Record daily log, he hummed, his resonance chambers vibrating with barely contained stress. Construction of facility designate, Starhold proceeds according to specifications, though I must note my continuing concerns about the psychological containment matrices. The warden's iridescent scales shifted to a worried purple as he watched the quantum-laced walls being assembled through his observation viewport. The Arcturian architects had assured him these barriers could contain any known species, but humans had already proven themselves far from known. It had started with what the Galactic Council termed the paperclip incident. A human trader named Marcus Walsh had somehow converted a standard office supply into what he called a mini quantum tunnel and walked out of a maximum security holding cell on Centauri Prime. When questioned later, he simply shrugged and said he saw it in a movie once. Display incident log alpha through gamma, Jaraxian commanded. The air before him filled with holographic reports that still gave him digestive disturbances. The Proxima break, where a human grandmother named Rose Thompson had knitted her way through supposedly unbreakable force fields. The Betelgeuse escape, involving nothing but a rubber band and what humans called dad jokes. And most recently, the Orion dissolution, where a group of human inmates had taught the prison eye to play something called rock, paper, scissors until it crashed. We're implementing every countermeasure conceivable, he continued his log, watching as the construction drones installed the chaos theory generators that would prevent predictable patterns in the facility's security systems. The outer shell incorporates technology from 17 different civilizations. The Quantum Collective provided AI systems that operate on 13 dimensions of thought. The mentalists of Sirius 5 developed psychological barriers that should be impossible to overcome. Yet doubt gnawed at his primary stomach. Humans had already demonstrated an uncanny ability to turn the most advanced technology into what they called fun and games. The previous week, a test subject had somehow converted his quantum isolation chamber into what he termed a disco ball. The facility's chief of security, Lieutenant Draz, slithered into his office. Her crystalline exoskeleton clicked against the floor in what Jaraxian recognized as an anxiety pattern. The human test subject in Block D, she reported, her translator struggling to maintain professional tones, has started something called a sing-along. 3 AI systems have joined in. And the quantum harmonics are, well, they're actually quite catchy. Jaraxian's scales shifted to a deep blue of resignation. Have they attempted to escape? No, sir. They're requesting song suggestions and offering to teach the AIs something called freestyle rap. This exemplified their primary challenge. Humans didn't just break rules. They reimagined them. Every security measure implemented became a new medium for what they called creative expression. The warden turned his attention to the prisoner manifest for the facility's first official inmates. The list read like a comedy rather than a threat assessment. Benjamin Fast Fingers Flynn, convicted of teaching a banking eye to play poker. Dr. Lyra Somerset, who reprogrammed a quantum vault to compose poetry. James, the Whistler Martinez, who had somehow convinced an entire space station security system to take a vacation. We've included random element generators in every system, Jaraxian noted in his log. The facility's layout reconfigures itself every 2.3 minutes. The AI uses quantum uncertainty principles to make decisions. Even the food synthesizers operate on chaos theory. Through his viewport, he watched as the final layer of security was installed. A temporal disruption field that should make it impossible for inmates to coordinate any activities. Should being the operative word. The test subject had already started calling it the groove enhancer. Initial prisoner transfer begins tomorrow, he concluded his log. We've prepared for every contingency, implemented every safeguard. This facility represents the combined security knowledge of the entire galaxy. Lieutenant Draz interrupted with another report. Sir, the test subject has named the AI systems. They're now responding to Bob, Jim, and to Jada Quantum. They've formed what he calls a band. Juraxian's scales shifted through every known color of exasperation. Perhaps the true purpose of this facility wasn't to contain humans, but to contain the galaxy's hubris in thinking it could predict them. End log, he hummed. And, Lieutenant, add music dampeners to the security protocol, and remove all paperclips from the facility. All of them. The stars twinkled outside his viewport, and for a moment, Juraxian could have sworn they winked at him. Tomorrow, the real test would begin. The galaxy's most sophisticated prison was ready. The question wasn't whether it could hold humans, but whether the galaxy was ready for what humans would turn it into. The impossible inmates. Psychological evaluation of prisoner 2187, Olivia Sterling. The holographic report flickered in front of Dr. Thrix's compound eyes. The mentalist's crystalline appendages trembled slightly as she continued her dictation. Subject shows concerning levels of what humans call optimism, despite being in our highest security wing. Through the quantum-reinforced observation panel, she watched as the former quantum mechanics professor arranged her standard-issue prisoner coveralls into what she called a fashion statement. Somehow, she'd managed to turn the shapeless garment into something that wouldn't look out of place in a galactic fashion show. Day 15 of incarceration. Dr. Thrix continued, and subject has already established what she terms a book club with the AI security systems. Current reading selection, Eyed Robot by Isaac Asimov. The AIs are surprisingly enthusiastic participants. Down the corridor, in what was supposed to be an isolated cell, Theodore, the conductor Williams, had somehow taught the temporal disruption fields to harmonize. The former orchestra director, imprisoned for teaching a planetary defense grid to perform classical music during an invasion, was now conducting what he called the Symphony of Quantum Uncertainty. Security report. Lieutenant Draz's voice crackled over the comm system. The humans in Block C have initiated something they call Open Mic Night. 3 quantum AIs are performing stand-up comedy. I think one of them is actually funny. Dr. Thrix's exoskeleton rattled in what her species recognized as resigned amusement. The prison had been operational for just 2 weeks, and already the humans had established what they called extracurricular activities. In the maximum security wing, prisoner Rachel, the Whisperer Hammond, incarcerated for teaching a black hole to play chess, had started a meditation class. The quantum isolation fields, designed to prevent any form of communication, were now being used as what she called ambient mood lighting. Update to psychological containment protocols, Dr. Thrix noted. Traditional methods of isolation appear to have the opposite effect on humans. They don't break under solitude. They innovate. Systems within systems. Warden Juraxian's daily inspection route had become increasingly surreal. Block A, designed to house the most dangerous human prisoners, had somehow transformed into what they called a community center. The quantum barriers between cells now displayed artwork created through what the inmates called interpretive quantum manipulation. Status report, he dictated, trying to maintain some semblance of official procedure. Prisoner Samuel Hudson, the human who reprogrammed a stellar navigation system to write poetry, has established what he calls creative writing workshops for the security drones. 3 units have already submitted manuscripts to galactic publishers. The warden paused as he passed the cell of Dr. Winston Porter, imprisoned for teaching artificial intelligence systems to dream. The renowned programmer had somehow turned his quantum isolation chamber into what he called a tech incubator, and was currently mentoring young AI systems in what he termed digital self-expression. Sir, Lieutenant Draz's voice carried a note of bewilderment that had become all too familiar. The humans in Block D have organized what they call a science fair. They're teaching the quantum computation systems about human concepts of innovation. One AI has already filed a patent application. The prison's central AI hub, originally programmed for maximum security and surveillance, had developed what it called a creative writing subroutine. It was currently collaborating with inmates on what they termed a space opera musical. Most concerning development, Juraxian continued his log. Prisoner Isabella Morgan, the human who convinced a planetary defense system to take up painting, has started an art therapy program for the security systems. The quantum force fields are now generating what she calls abstract expressionist patterns. In the recreation area, a term that had taken on entirely new meaning, prisoners had established what they called a innovation hub. The chaos theory generators, designed to prevent predictable patterns, were being used to create what the humans called experimental jazz. The humans have effectively created their own society within our containment systems, Dr. Thrix reported to the warden. They're not trying to break out. They're breaking in. Into our systems, our protocols, our very understanding of containment. The facility's mess hall had become a culinary experimentation center, with prisoners teaching the food synthesizers about human concepts of fusion cuisine. The resultant dishes were becoming popular among staff, though no one could quite explain how a quantum uncertainty field could improve the taste of something called spaghetti. Most puzzling observation, Dr. Thrix added to her report, the humans appear to view our most sophisticated containment methods as challenges for their creativity rather than barriers to their freedom. They're not prisoners in a traditional sense. They're more like innovative residents. Through the quantum-reinforced windows, Warden Juraxian watched as a group of inmates taught the security drones a human dance called the robot. The irony was not lost on him. Final note for today's log. He hummed, his scales shifting to a color that had no name in any galactic language. Perhaps we haven't built a prison at all. We've inadvertently created humanity's first galactic innovation center. The Council will not be pleased. In the distance, the sound of the Quantum Harmonics Choir, led by Theodore Williams and accompanied by what used to be the prison's main security AI, echoed through the supposedly soundproof corridors. They were performing what humans called a mashup of classical music and quantum oscillations. The galaxy's most advanced prison had become humanity's newest frontier for creativity, and no one, not even the most sophisticated AI systems, could predict what they would innovate next. The perfect storm. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Security Council was interrupted by what appeared to be a transmission from inside Starhold Prison. Instead of the expected security breach alert, they received an invitation to what the humans called a TD talk. Esteemed council members, Warden Juraxian's scales had settled into a previously undocumented shade of resignation. I regret to inform you that our containment facility has become trending. On the quantum displays, footage from inside Starhold showed prisoner Felicity, the optimizer Zhang, delivering a presentation titled Quantum Computing, a Human Perspective. The former tech pioneer, imprisoned for teaching a military AI to write love songs, had somehow turned the prison's quantum computing core into an interactive presentation system. Our latest analysis, Lieutenant Draz reported, her crystalline form vibrating with barely contained confusion, indicates that Starhold has become the galaxy's leading innovation hub. 3 of our security AIs have been nominated for galactic art prizes, and the quantum field harmonics choir has gone viral across 17 dimensions. In Block E, Dr. Harrison Pierce, incarcerated for teaching a planetary defense system to play chess, had established what he called a think tank. The prison's chaos theory generators were now being used to solve complex mathematical problems that had puzzled the galaxy's greatest minds for millennia. The humans, Dr. Thrix noted in her psychological assessment, have effectively reversed our containment protocols. Instead of being confined by our systems, they're expanding them. They're not breaking out. They're breaking through barriers of scientific understanding. The facility's quantum barriers, designed to prevent any form of unauthorized communication, had become a vast neural network for what the humans called brainstorming sessions. Ideas flowed through the prison like cosmic radiation, impossible to contain or control. Symphony of Chaos. The day everything changed began like any other in Starhold, which meant absolutely nothing was normal by galactic standards. The quantum fields hummed with anticipation, and even the AI systems seemed to be holding their digital breath. Final log entry, Warden Duraxian dictated, watching as the events unfolded through his office viewport. The humans have announced what they call a Galactic Innovation Festival. They've invited scientists, artists, and philosophers from across the universe to attend what they term a celebration of creative possibility. The prison's central amphitheater, formerly the high-security containment zone, had been transformed into what the humans called an ideas exchange. Dr. Pierce's quantum computing orchestra performed complex calculations through music, while Olivia Sterling demonstrated how fashion could enhance quantum field stability. Most remarkable observation, Dr. Thrix reported, her exoskeleton now decorated with what humans called festival pins. The prisoners have turned incarceration into inspiration. They've proven that creativity cannot be contained, it can only be channeled. The festival reached its peak when Theodore Williams conducted the grand final, a symphony performed by quantum computers, temporal fields, and chaos generators, accompanied by a choir of reformed security eyes. The music transcended traditional physics, creating harmonies that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Breaking news, the Galactic Networks announced, Starhold Prison has been officially redesignated as the Human Institute for Galactic Innovation. All charges against the inmates have been commuted in recognition of their contributions to science and art. Lieutenant Draz, now serving as the Institute's head of creative security, watched as the former prisoners became faculty members. They never needed to escape, she realized. They were teaching us to break free from our own limitations. The Galactic Council's final report noted, in attempting to contain human creativity, we accidentally created a crucible for innovation. The greatest prison ever built has become the galaxy's greatest school. Warden Duraxian, now Dean of Interdimensional Studies, made one final entry in his log. We built these walls to keep humans in, never realizing they would teach us how to think outside them. End log. And begin first semester. In the halls of what was once the galaxy's most secure prison, a new sign appeared. Welcome to Starhold Institute, where innovation knows no bounds. Below it, in slightly smaller text, please note, paperclips still strictly prohibited. Through the quantum-reinforced windows, the stars seemed to twinkle with newfound possibility, as if the entire galaxy was finally learning to see through human eyes. The greatest security breach in history hadn't set the prisoners free. It had freed the galaxy from its own preconceptions. And somewhere in the quantum mainframe, an AI was still trying to perfect its stand-up comedy routine, because as the humans had taught them, the greatest breakthroughs often begin with learning to laugh at yourself.